Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the fun coming-of-age movie that's currently out in theaters called Dìdi. I got to see it. I really enjoyed it. Let's talk about it.
Modern Movie Review.
Heyo, future editing Blake chiming in here. I got really excited to talk about this movie, and I really enjoyed this movie. And I speak really fast during a lot of parts of this video, and I wanted to come on and kind of make a formal apology before I get too far into this. My ADD sometimes when I'm talking about something I really like, I kind of just start going. So if there are parts of this video where I'm speaking too fast, my apologies. But that being said, enjoy your regularly programmed video. Okay, so right off the bat, before I get too far into this movie, I'm going to go ahead and say this movie is playing in select theaters, so this one was not in the theater closest to me. I had to go drive an hour away for this movie, and I like to call those movies road trip movies because I have to go on a mini road trip to go see it. And the first thing I want to do whenever I see one of those movies is say whether or not I think it was worth driving an hour to go see it, and I am going to say for this movie, 100% was worth the drive. I really enjoyed this movie. I had a really good time with it. I think that overall, the acting in it is credible. The storytelling is fantastic. And this is a great period piece. Anybody who was growing up in the early 2000s will definitely be able to relate with this movie. And I absolutely love it. So I am going to issue a minor spoiler warning. I will say I do think that this is a movie that honestly is cliche enough and has a lot of the things that you would expect to be in this movie that it's not really something that can be ruined with spoilers. But that being said, if you are somebody who is like planning on seeing this in the next couple of days, maybe pause this and come back to this video later. But that being said, we're gonna dive into this review. Alrighty, so first things first, I just want to talk about the complexity of this movie because I absolutely love this movie. I think that they did a really good job showcasing how it feels to be a really young and impressionable kid during this time period where phones were just starting to be a little bit more accessible. A lot of people were starting to have them. MySpace was a really big deal. A lot of people would constantly be making friends with people on the internet, and they would be connecting with people in a way that social media hadn't really had that much of a presence before. So I think that the way that they dove into social media being a big part of this person's childhood and him growing up was really cool. I think that the stuff with MySpace in this was fantastic. The stuff with him being able to feel like really left out and the way he was able to kind of like curate the way that people saw him on social media was really interesting, and I thought that that was really well done because something that is really fascinating about social media in general is the fact that a lot of people make versions of themselves for specific social media platforms. Like right now, I am currently on YouTube, and this is the way that I present myself on YouTube. This is how everybody who's ever seen me via YouTube, you see me as this person who talks about movies, who likes to discuss these films and stuff like that. But if you go over to my Instagram, it's going to be a different version of me. If you go onto my TikTok, it's going to be once again a different version of me. And I think that this movie does a really good job showcasing how people have layers and people have different personas that they kind of put on the internet. And the way that they deal with some of that complexity with young people and using social media and kind of the issue of should they be using social media is interesting, and I like that. They don't go too far into that, but I do like the fact that it is addressed and it is touched on, and a lot of the messaging sequences and stuff in this I think is visually really well done. All of the platforms and everything looks great. I think that a lot of movies have finally mastered interfaces for certain social media platforms, which is so satisfying. Like MySpace looks like MySpace, YouTube looks like what YouTube looked like back during the time period, and I really appreciate that. I think that that was fantastic. And another thing that I really liked is the music choice was also very early 2000s, very fantastic with that. And there was a lot of like viral YouTubers and stuff that he was watching that were actually some of the like first big YouTube channels when the YouTube came out and started being a big thing. So I thought that that was also really awesome that they noted on that. But that being said, some of the main stuff I wanted to talk about, the period piece, but now to just talk about coming of age in general. I will say this, coming of age movies are kind of my bread and butter. I grew up on Pixar. I really love a lot of the Pixar movies. One thing that I love particularly about them is that a lot of them can be, in a way, a coming of age story. Like movies like Onward is definitely a big like coming of age movie. Ratatouille, in a way, in my mind, was always kind of a coming of age story. The entire Toy Story trilogy, kind of a coming of age story. So like, it's always been a really big thing to me that like a movie about somebody growing up and growing into their own, you know, self-identity was really cool to me. And this movie does it incredibly well. One thing that I love about the character of Dìdi is that he is somebody who is really young. He's impressionable. He really wants to make a big positive impact on people, and he wants to be a friend to everybody. And something that I really like about him is he wants to put on kind of a persona of this person who's really cool, and he wants everybody to think highly of him because he just wants people to love him and people to appreciate him and people to give him kind of the praise that he's always wanted. And it causes him to make a lot of decisions in this movie that are harsh, that aren't necessarily the best for him, don't end up working out very well in the long run. And I think that this movie does such a good job showing kind of cause and effect and how young people make mistakes and how they have to learn to deal with those consequences of their mistakes. Didi is fantastic for that. And something that I really like about this movie is just overall peer pressure, and not necessarily they have young people peer pressuring him, because that was something that I really liked about this movie. A lot of times he was in settings and scenarios where he potentially would be pressured to do things, and the people he was with weren't actually pressuring him to do it. He was taking the liberty himself to go out of his way to do these things that weren't very smart because he thought that it would have a positive social reward and people would love him more because he's doing these crazy things. And I like the way that it kind of actually pushes people away from him a little bit more, because it showcases that people like him more when he's being himself. People like him more when he's being very genuine and being very real. And that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I think that this young actor did an incredible job with this character. And there's a lot of very emotional and heartbreaking scenes in this. And I thought that that was fantastic. Another thing I want to touch on, the family dynamic. His mom in this movie is a single mother. She goes through so much. She's constantly being treated like crap by her mother-in-law. She's constantly being treated like crap by Didi and Didi's older sister, and just literally everybody's constantly neglecting them. And she has a line where she mentions that like she's what makes their house a home. And oh my god, she was really, really good in this. I feel like as far as like her screen time in this movie, it is very limited, but they make a lot with the short period of time that she has. And I really like the decision to not have her in the movie as much, because Didi himself was kind of like taking her for granted and kind of just like pushing her to the side and not really caring that his mother was there. And I like the fact that throughout this movie, she's constantly being there at the right time to be a good mother and to kind of like support him and guide him and be there for him whenever she really needs him. And they have some really great heart-to-heart moments. I think that Didi and his sister also have some really great heart-to-heart moments. And overall, just the importance of family in this movie is huge. And I loved that. I thought that that was fantastic. And kind of going back to some of the like peer pressure things and some of Didi not necessarily making the best decisions is he's pushing away his sister and he's pushing away his mom a lot in this movie, because he just feels like having like a nice relationship with your mom and your sister makes you kind of lame. And I think that that was another thing that I thought was really interesting, was the way he was kind of neglecting his mother and really disrespecting his mother because he thought that people would think that was cool. And then him having an eye-opening moment where people are like, hey, you shouldn't treat your mom like that. Hey, that was really messed up. Why would you be that mean to your mother? That's terrible. It was awesome. I thought that was fantastic. And the last thing that I kind of want to touch on here, also, I want to apologize. I'm probably speaking really fastly, and I'm sorry for that. But the last thing that I kind of want to touch on, the mother does have a beautiful monologue towards the end of the movie. They have a heart-to-heart moment. Didi ran away. He comes back and he asks, "Are you ashamed of me?" And she goes on to talk about how growing up she had a lot of different dreams and she really just wanted to move to America on her own penny. She wanted to be able to potentially become an artist and have like an art studio in New York. And as she got older, she always kind of like resented kind of the fact that she became a mother and the fact that she had these kids and she had to work different jobs and do different things to really take care of them when they were growing up. And she goes on to say that growing up, something she realized watching her kids grow up in this country and being able to make the decisions they're making, that the entire time her dream was Didi. And that broke my heart. It was really good. It was a beautiful scene. And overall, just 10 out of 10 family dynamic here. The mother-son bond is incredible. And I just loved pretty much everything about this movie. One of the only gripes that I have with this movie is with it being like a slice of life movie. This movie doesn't really feel like it ends. Like whenever the movie ends, it kind of feels like whenever you're watching a TV show, this feels like it would be the first season of like a 7-season long TV show. So it's not necessarily a bad ending. It just kind of feels like a very abrupt ending. But other than that, I did really enjoy this movie. I think the cinematography was great. I feel like there's a lot of really good emotional moments in this. And I definitely would recommend it to anybody who enjoys coming-of-age movies like myself. Like I said, this is my bread and butter. These are the kind of movies I look forward to. I think I ranked this like my number 13 out of all the movies I've seen this year, and I've seen like 56 movies or something, so it's pretty good. It's pretty high up there. But yeah, overall, my final score for this movie, I'm gonna give it a solid 92 out of 100. Like I said, a couple of nitpicky things that I don't like. Some characters who get introduced relatively early on kind of get ignored for the majority of the movie, and then they have a weird resolution at the end. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I, once again, would definitely recommend it. But that being said, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.